If you're an analytical man and you have a difficult time feeling your emotions, this video is going to help you to access them again. I'm not going to tell you to just feel your feelings or even ask you, what are you feeling? Because I know that can be difficult. But if you can't feel your emotions or it's really hard, there's always a logical reason why. And in this video, I'm going to guide you through some different processes to help you identify why you might be blocked from feeling your emotions, and then help you unravel some of those blocks so it becomes easier to feel your emotions again. And the reason why we want to feel emotions, it's not so that we can feel the pain of sadness or fear or grief or something, but because when we can't feel our negative emotions, it's also blocking us from feeling our positive emotions, from feeling love, connection, joy, aliveness, or feeling touched. I'm Noah Elkreef, and I've been coaching smart analytical men for over 15 years. So without further ado, let's get started. The first thing I want you to do is to close your eyes and imagine a high school boy crying. Somewhere in the region of 15 to 18 years old. I want you to imagine him crying of pain of rejection, pain of heartbreak, pain of failure, that he's hurting. Not imagining yourself, but imagining either a friend of yours, someone you saw in a TV show or movie, or just someone you're making up. And if that's difficult for you, I'm going to include a link in the description to a YouTube video of a boy crying. But don't click that just yet. I'm going to tell you what to do first, and then you can open that in a new tab. So what I want you to do when you imagine or look at this boy crying, I want you to see what comes up in you. What judgments come up first? Do you view him as weak, pathetic, needy, a loser? What feeling comes up in you? Do you feel comfortable? Do you feel compassion? Do you feel sad? Or do you feel disgust or disdain? Does it make you uncomfortable? Do you want to get away from him? Now, if you haven't clicked the link yet, go ahead and do that now. And notice what comes up. Pause this video. And when you're back, I want to point out that these are the judgments that are inside of you that are preventing you from feeling. If you aren't feeling your emotions, it's because there's a block. It's because something is preventing you. And there's a wide variety of possible reasons, but one is because of judgment. And any judgment you have towards someone who's feeling an emotion didn't start with you. It was put into you. No little boy crying or watching another, if a 2-year-old or a 4-year-old watches another boy crying, he doesn't judge them to be weak or stupid or needy or fragile or any of these things or disgusting unless someone else puts it into him. Right? So if you have that judgment about emotion, of course, you're not going to want to feel emotion because you don't want to view yourself as weak, pathetic, needy, a loser, disgusting, or it makes you uncomfortable that you even want to get away from yourself. And so these judgments can arise from many places. I think the most obvious that people have is just being around other guys at school, right? I know growing up in New York, if somebody showed any type of emotion, it was considered weak and we were called a lot of names and perhaps even outcast in some way. And it happens a lot in sports. And these are the sort of obvious ways when we're really, get bullied or we criticize others or we watch others being critical or judging or insulting others for having emotion. And the more subtle version of that starts even younger is what happens with our Father. And these are harder memories to access, and you don't have to access it right now. I'm just going to speak about it for a moment. And that is when our fathers witness us crying as a child, whether we, didn't get the dessert we wanted, or we didn't get the gift we wanted, or, we were sad because mommy or daddy didn't come, our Father can look at us with different types of non-accepting and loving feelings. He might judge us to be weak or get over it or it's irrational. Whether he says it or not, he might be viewing us to be irrational or weak or too fragile. Or it might make him uncomfortable and he doesn't know how to deal with it. And all of that can be imprinted onto us, where we learn that, feeling emotion doesn't get us love. In fact, it gets us rejection or non-acceptance in some way. And so I'm here to tell you that if you're blocked from feeling emotion, that is always a sort of adaptive strategy, a smart strategy in order to keep or get love from our Father or our friends or our surroundings growing up. Yeah, that it's not a defect, but rather a clever adaptive strategy in order to survive or thrive in our environment. But I also want to say that how we were treated when we were emotional, or how we watched others treated when they were emotional, wasn't kind, healthy, or, I don't know, true or ideal. So, what I want you to do is imagine a boy feeling emotion in high school. It could be the same boy you just imagined or same boy you just watched on YouTube. I want you to imagine how he's treated. So, imagine this boy feeling emotion, and then friends or other people in his grade or his father starts being unkind to him. Whether that's overtly unkind, calling him names, you're pathetic, you're weak, what are you doing, toughen up, or whether it's more subtle, like they just look at him with disgust or feel uncomfortable and just want to get away from him. And I want you to notice how you feel towards the others who are watching him. Notice. It's not nice. And I want you to say that to them. Say that to the other kids his age. Say that to his father. How you're treating him isn't right. Speak the words within your imagination or out loud if you feel like it. Say, you're not being kind. You're being really mean. You're being disrespectful. What's wrong with you? Why are you doing this? It's not right. You're hurting his feelings even more. You're rejecting him for having emotion, but it's actually healthy that he has emotion. If he was just heartbroken, if he just failed, if he didn't get what he wanted, it's a totally healthy response for him to have emotion. And there's no excuse for you to be mean to him, for you to reject him for him, for you to abandon him for that and close off your heart to him for that. And then put yourself in his position. Put yourself in the position of the crying boy and speak to your father. Speak to these other kids, whether they're your close friends or your bitter rivals or bullies, and say, I don't like this. Don't treat me like this. This isn't nice. Even if this never happened to you in your life, imagine it happening. Imagine that you're the boy crying, whether that's 14 or 15 or even earlier, 9 or 10. And you speak up for yourself. I want you to be kind to me when I'm crying. I want you to hold me when I'm crying. I want you to be curious about me when I'm crying. It hurts me so much. I'm already in pain, and then you're closing off to me, calling me names, telling me to toughen up. I don't like this. Don't do this to me. Be nice to me. I need you to hold me. I need you to give me kind words, to reassure me. Notice how that feels to speak that. And it's okay to be angry. It's okay to say, I want to hit you. I want to punch you. I want to hurt you for doing this to me. Even if it's covert, it's still mean. If your father or these other kids didn't overtly insult you, but, got cold, felt disgust towards you, got uncomfortable around you, it's still mean. Doesn't mean they're bad people, but it does mean that their response was rejecting of you in the moments when you most needed it. When you're in emotional pain, that's when you most need support, not rejection and emotional abandonment. And to help this point hit home further, I want you to imagine now from the third person perspective, yourself or a different boy receiving love and care when they're emotional. Imagine what is the healthy way. Imagine a boy, yourself or someone else, somewhere in the sort of 9 or 10 to 15, 16 years old, crying, feeling pain, feeling hurt. And then imagine another man, whether that's his friend or his father, coming to him and giving the healthy response. Like, I'm here for you. Let me hold you. Let me tell you I love you while you're sad. I totally understand why you're sad. It makes perfect sense to me that you're sad and feel hurt. What can I do for you? And see how that feels to witness that. To see a boy being comforted while he's emotional instead of being rejected. Because when our emotions are blocked, there's a very large chance it's because we were never given comfort, validation, understanding, support, warmth when we had emotion. And in order to start shifting that, we want to imagine ourselves or even someone else receiving that goodness. To retrain our system that, oh, showing emotional pain can get me love. Showing emotional pain can get me warmth, understanding, support, not immediate rejection, abandonment, insults, criticism. Yeah, I hope that's starting to hit some feeling in you, some warmth, some softness, some compassion in you. And now I want to take it another step further. And I want you to ask yourself, what am I afraid would happen if I show my emotions to a friend or to my father? What am I afraid would happen? What am I afraid they'd do? What am I afraid they'd say and do? Not like that they'd hit you, but like, what facial expression am I afraid of? What words am I afraid of? What am I afraid they would feel? So imagine it. Imagine that you're feeling some pain, that, you failed to get the promotion at work, or your meeting didn't go well, or your wife insulted you or criticized you in some way. And you're just feeling like completely like a failure, like I'm not enough. And then you want to tell that to a male friend or to your father. And you can imagine it happening now, or you can imagine it happening when you're in high school or middle school. And just look at them in front of you. Really try to imagine it from the first person perspective. Look at this man in front of you, whether he's your age or older, and just ask yourself, what would be the worst possible response? What am I afraid of? And he says, ugh, you're so weak. What's wrong with you? Stop being dramatic. Toughen up. Or he just gives you this look like you're beneath him, or this look that you're a disappointment, or this look that you're being, I don't know, like a girl, too feminine, or that he doesn't want to be around you. He doesn't know how to deal with it. Just notice, like, what is your unique fear? And it might be many of them. And if it's many of them, you can write them down. The more clearly you identify and understand what you fear, the more easy it is to unravel and work through that fear. So whatever fear you have, it's completely rational. There's a reason you have it. It means it happened to you and it caused pain. that at some point when you shared an emotion, those things did happen. Otherwise, you wouldn't fear it. We only fear what we've already felt. So when someone rejected you, when you showed emotion, you felt shame, felt hurt, felt abandoned. And then, of course, you don't want to feel that shame again. So then you block feeling. And not just block showing it to others, but if you have access to feeling within yourself, it's more of a threat that you might show it to someone. So it's even safer to block access within yourself. So I'm here to say that it's totally logical and smart and cleverly adaptive that you blocked access to your emotion. Because to feel emotion means you might show it, and to show it means you might get rejected, and to be rejected means you might feel this strong pain of shame and hurt um, by someone you care about, or even just by anyone. It just hurts, especially when you're already in pain. So now that you see what you're most afraid of, we want to give the opposite. We want to give the best possible thing. Yeah. So I want you to imagine now feeling an emotion. Not that you have to actually feel it now, you're just visualizing it. So visualize yourself having an emotion, and you can do it from the first person or the third person perspective, and then give him the good stuff. Give him the exact opposite. So if you're afraid of him being told he's weak, then tell him you're so brave for feeling this. You're so strong for feeling this. If you're afraid he will be looked at with disappointment or disgust, then imagine that giving him warmth and a smile and say, I see you, I care about you, come closer. Whatever you're most afraid of, give him the opposite. And you can give it from yourself, or for a lot of us, it's hard to imagine ourselves giving that warmth. So imagine some being that would give that warmth. So maybe that's your grandfather, maybe that's an uncle, maybe that's a character you once saw in a movie, like, I don't know, Gandalf, or a Native American elder, like someone who's really warm and soft and wise and mature. Imagine someone giving the opposite of what you fear. So brave to show your emotions. I love seeing your emotions. It's not irrational, it's totally logical. I understand your emotions. You're not being feminine. Men cry too. It's healthy for a man to cry. Yeah. And just notice how that feels to receive the opposite of what you fear. It can be retraining your system that it's possible to get warmth when you share emotion, when you feel emotion. And you don't have to test this out in the real world yet. Like, we want to just do it with ourself and in our imagination, even without feeling emotion, just visualizing it over and over again. And that is rewiring ourselves so that our system becomes more and more comfortable connecting to emotion. All right. And then what I want you to do is something quite different. I want you to imagine feeling emotion, and imagine what is the scariest thing that could happen within you if you feel an emotion. For example, if I let myself feel that pain, I'll lose control, or it'll take me over, or it'll be too big. Or if I feel that emotion, it will just never stop. If I let myself feel the pain of my mom dying, it will just never stop. If I let myself feel the pain of my wife cheating, it'll just never stop. Or if I let myself feel the pain that I'm a fraud or not enough and nothing I do is ever enough for my wife or for my boss, it will just like take me over and just be too much to handle, and I'll never stop. Really connect for yourself. What am I afraid will happen if I really connect to emotion? If I really connect and allow the depth of my emotional pain? Will it be too big? Will it be too strong? You don't have to go there. Just notice what you're afraid of. You don't have to connect to the emotion. You don't have to go to what you're afraid of yet. Just notice the fear. And I want to point out that whatever it is you're afraid of was completely logical and rational for the child who formed that conclusion. So it's very common for us to feel fear that it's too big. That if we let ourselves feel the emotion, it'll be too big, it'll be too strong, it will take us over. And while that might not be true for the adult, it almost never is, it's almost always true for the child. So if we're 2 years old or 1 year old or 4 years old and an emotion comes up, like if we look around and mom's not here, the level of fear we have is overwhelming, is too much for a little child's body to bear. If we're lying in our crib, in infancy, and we hear a loud sound, or our stomach is hurting, or we're hungry, and mom doesn't come or dad doesn't come, the emotion, the fear in our body is just too big that sometimes we have to disassociate, we have to disconnect. Or if mommy or daddy yells at us at any point in our childhood, it can be overwhelming to our system, the level of fear, the level of shame, the level of danger. Like, it's just too much for us to handle, that it is totally rational and a adaptive biological response that we just disassociate, disconnect from our body and go up to our head because it's just too much to feel in our body. But the thing is, now we're in an adult body. And our adult body can handle a lot more than the little boy's body. So if the little boy weighs 20 pounds or 10 pounds or 30 pounds, and we have, let's say, a 3-pound emotion, that's way too big for his little body to handle. It's too much as a percentage of his body. But if that same 3 pounds comes up in our 150 or 200-pound body now, it's held within a container that's much stronger. Right? So it was rational then, but it's not rational anymore that emotions are too big for us to handle. That being said, they can be very, very painful and very, very big and intense when we're not used to feeling emotion. Right? We have to develop the trust in our container to hold emotional pain. And for a child, the way that we increase our capacity to feel, the way that we're actually able to feel emotion, is to have co-regulation with somebody bigger than us and someone who loves us. So if we feel scared as a child and then our mom holds us, or if we feel even like physically hurt, cut our finger, or we hurt our leg, like if we're scared or if we feel pain of any kind and then we're held in it, it becomes a lot more manageable. Or maybe our cat, our dog died and we have grief, and then our mom or dad holds us in it. Then we can manage that grief, that hurt, that emotional pain much, much better when we're being held. It's almost like being held expands our nervous system's capacity to feel pain. And then it can move through us in a much more healthy, relaxing, easeful way, rather than it gets blocked and stuck when it's too much for us to feel. All right. So if we're rejected, if we're yelled at, if we're insulted, if someone dies, if we don't get our dessert, if we fail an exam, and that brings up this pain of like hurt and sadness. If we have no one, it's sometimes too much to feel, so we subconsciously push it down. But if someone was just there to hold us, then that emotion can pour out through tears, that when the tears come, that sadness, that grief, that hurt, that fear is leaving our body. Or maybe it's like a moan, like, ah, ah, and that's letting the emotion out so it doesn't get blocked and stuck. But the more we push down emotion, the more emotion gets blocked and stuck inside of us. And then it gets sort of there's more and more in there. So yes, of course, now maybe it was 3 pounds originally as a child got blocked, but over and over again, 3 pounds, 3 pounds, 3 pounds, and there's just a lot inside of us. So of course it's overwhelming. There's so much pain in there that if you open back that pathway down from your head analytical thinking down to your body, to the emotion, in the beginning it will be intense, it will be strong. And so what we want to do right now is see if we can like open the tap a little bit, not open the floodgates, but open the tap a little bit. And the way that we're going to do that is by checking in. What did the little boy need? So if he's in pain, for little boys in pain, you don't have to remember anything, but just kind of imagine, if mommy or daddy didn't come, like he's out somewhere in public and he's at the park and then he looks for mommy and daddy and they're not there and he's afraid. Or if mommy and daddy were mean, or if he didn't get the clothes he wanted, or the food he wanted and he's sad, or he had a stomach ache and he's in pain and no one's coming. We want to ask him, what would make you feel comfortable? And that could be, imagining a really soft, warm human like mom or dad. Or if mom or dad wasn't soft, which they probably weren't, then picturing the warmest, softest human we can. And if we can't picture a human, like when I started going through this process myself, I couldn't imagine any soft, warm, safe human. Imagining an animal, imagining a lion, imagining a bear, imagining a deer or an elephant. Like, ask the little boy, the 4-year-old, the 5-year-old, what animal or what human, real or imaginary, would be the safest, warmest, most kindest being you can imagine to hold you while you feel some sort of scary emotion. And then once you have that, then ask him, where would be the safest place to feel an emotion if you did feel one? Would it be in your childhood room? Would it be in a cloud? Would it be in a forest that's super safe? Would it be in a field? An empty grass field? Would it be at the sea, on a boat, or on the beach? And once you have that, I want you to picture the boy, first person or third person perspective. Let's go around 4 or 5 years old. And I want you to ask him, why are you afraid to feel? And let him express the same thing he said before. It'll be too big. It'll be too much. It'll take me over. And then bring him this kind, loving human or animal and take him to this safe space and say, we're here for you now. Let the animal hold him, cuddle him, and say, we're here for you now. You don't have to hold this by yourself. Let the emotion out. It's okay. It's safe. And visualize the emotion getting bigger, getting stronger, getting, maybe even taking him over, but that he's held by the elephant, the deer, the lion, the kind, loving human, that it's safe, that he's not in this alone anymore. And you can visualize it moving through him. Maybe he needs to shake, maybe visualize the color of the emotion, that it takes him over, that it's a black thing and it just shoots out of him, or it's gray and heavy and it doesn't have to be stuck inside his chest or his head, but you can open up a doorway on his chest or his head and let it out. That it doesn't need to be trapped inside anymore. That he can be held in it and that he can open up like a portal or a doorway somewhere in his body, or you can open it up for him, that it can just start seeping out. That it's safe to cry, it's safe to scream, it's safe to shake, it's safe to just let this thing take him over. That it might seem that if you let it take him over, that it will just be never ending, or it'll be too big and he'll be destroyed. But let's test that hypothesis. What if letting it out, what if letting it expand actually just softens it, releases it? What if it's safe now to feel, to let it be big, to let it be strong, to let it be intense? What if it's safe now for that? Just stay with that for a little while. And you can pause the video if you want to stay with it for a while. And I'm going to move on. So that's the last process we'll do in this video. And I know sometimes it can be hard to do visualization. So if you want, you can try doing it again, just watching boys or men cry in other videos. Yeah, that's a very useful tool to keep watching boys of different ages crying and see what it brings up in you. Let out the judgments, let out the anger, let out the disgust until you get to a place where it just feels like compassion and love, and you just want to hold him and hug him when you see him crying. Yeah, and also I want to say that I know that gaining access to emotions is hard. I used to not feel any of my emotions, and it took a lot of work and a lot of time to be able to feel my emotions. So if this didn't massively open your capacity to feel, that's expected. But if this even did 10% or 5%, then that's great. That's one step in the right direction. And the more you care about feeling your emotions, the more you really want to feel your emotions, the more your system and that intention will gradually open up to feeling your emotions. And I made a different video about why it's important to feel your emotions. It's called The Hidden Costs of Not Feeling Your Emotions, which I really encourage you to check out because that will increase your incentive or motivation to feel your emotions. The more you deeply understand like how much you're missing out on by not feeling your emotions. You're not just missing out on feeling sadness, hurt, grief, loneliness, fear. You're missing out on a lot of aspects of feeling alive, love, connection, joy, right? And also, it's important to be curious about what you're feeling. I know it's hard to know what you're feeling, but the more you're curious about it, the more you'll be connected to your feelings. Because a big part of why we can't feel our emotions is because growing up, our parents didn't care about what we were feeling. They took care of us physically, made sure we had, clothes, food, everything we need for school, but they weren't so attuned and caring and curious about what was going on inside of us. And so when we don't feel wanted, when our emotions don't feel wanted, valued, loved, of course we're going to suppress them and disconnect from it. But if you keep being curious and wanting to know what you feel, wanting to know what's going on inside, it's sort of giving permission or I don't know, notification to the inner child that like somebody cares, somebody wants to know. And little by little, he'll develop trust in you that maybe it's safe to share. Maybe sharing emotions is wanted. Maybe sharing emotions is valued. Maybe somebody wants to connect with me through sharing emotions. So I really hope this video helped. If you want one-on-one support with it, you can always check out my men's inner mastery coaching, which you'll find in a link in the description. So that's all, and I'll see you in the next video.